Sonic the Werehog. Love it or hate it, it only existed in one game. But what if it didn't?
The Sega Scourge. All smoke, no mirrors.
Hey everyone, I'm the Sega Scourge, and welcome to the start of what will hopefully become a new series here on this channel, titled Sonic What If? In this series, I'd like to take elements of the Sonic story and basically twist them around or turn them on their head to see how the story would be affected if events had unfolded differently. Yes, I know there are other what if channels out there, and I may have been inspired by a few of them, but it's something I wanted to try myself and see what you guys think of it. And since it's the month of October now and the spooky season is upon us, what better character to start with than this? The form Sonic took in Sonic Unleashed, the Werehog. Sonic the Werehog doesn't have the character's signature speed, but instead traded it for strength and combo moves, and Jason Griffith's best attempt at a Christian Bale Batman voice. This form was all caused by the premature Dark Gaia Awakening event instigated by our old pal Dr. Eggman. At the end of a priorly unseen adventure, Sonic takes on Eggman's armada in space, and with the help of the Chaos Emeralds, he transforms into Super Sonic and completely decimates the entire fleet. Unfortunately, he buys into Eggman's sorry routine and is caught off guard, having the Chaos Emeralds and the power of Super Sonic drained from him and used to energize Eggman's planet-cracking laser, a machine that literally cracked open the planet like an egg and released the devil. Jeez, that escalated quickly. Because Dark Gaia was awoken prematurely, his essence can't sustain itself, and he breaks apart all over the planet, becoming the Dark Gaia spawn. A part of Dark Gaia's essence, a very substantial part, somehow managed to latch itself onto Sonic, transforming him into Sonic the Werehog, basically the equivalent of a Dark Gaia spawn, stretchy arms and things like that, but with Sonic's mind and all his 90s attitude intact. This is also the reason why Sonic transforms at night, when Dark Gaia's influence is at its highest, bringing out the Dark Gaia energy inside of him. Skipping forward towards the end of the game, when confronting Dark Gaia, the creature takes back that part of itself that was missing, permanently removing the Werehog form from Sonic and bringing him back to regular old overused boost formula that we all know and loathe. Jokes. This is where our what if scenario will take place, in the finale of the story, if this one event just didn't happen. This is where I present the question, what if Sonic never lost the Werehog form? What if Dark Gaia for some reason didn't take back that part of itself from Sonic? But what circumstances would cause that to happen, and how would it affect the finale of Sonic Unleashed? Well, that's what we're gonna get into. Let's begin. In this retelling, the story of Sonic Unleashed plays out pretty much one-to-one as it does in the game. Sonic and Chip, or Light Gaia, travel the Earth, visiting each of the Gaia temples, restoring power to the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and thereby restoring another piece of the shattered planet back into formation. At the same time, Eggman moves forward with Project Dark Gaia, whereby he wishes to harness the limitless supply of Dark Gaia's energy. However, no Dark Gaia yet exists, only the Dark Gaia spawn, and Eggman's facing the problem of how to go about collecting each one of them. He constructs a giant Sky Needle-like tower, and using special electromagnetic homing frequencies, he manages to lure in each of the Gaia spawn from all over the planet, whereby he can then compress them all together in the Dark Gaia fusion furnace and create the Dark Gaia we see at the end of the game. Basically, he's hypnotizing them. Think of a bunch of moths being drawn to one light bulb. But it's around here that story events sidestep compared to the original, and what lead to the events of Sonic actually keeping his Werehog form later on. Eggman has a new idea. What if he could not only harness the power of Dark Gaia, but also find a way to control Dark Gaia itself? Yes, we know that Eggman tried to control Dark Gaia in the actual game. That didn't really go so well, but this time he's got a trick up his sleeve. He remembers how that insubordinate Chaos turned against him, and he's not about to let that happen again. And so, he gets to work. Jump forward to the end of Unleashed. After visiting the final Gaia Temple in Eggman Land, Sonic and Chip are now locked in combat against the Ultra Hyper Prototype 1! Or just, you know, the Egg Dragoon for short. Their fight takes them down to the outer layer of the planet's core, where Sonic lands on a huge platform of rock. But here, in this what if, something different happens. Realizing he's fighting a losing battle, Eggman unveils his trump card. From inside his Eggmobile, Eggman pulls out a device that looks suspiciously similar to a Dreamcast controller. Yeah, remember that Dreamcast in his Eggmobile in the beginning of Unleashed? Eggman's a big choo-choo rocket fan, you know. He presses a button on the control, and the liquid magma of the outer core begins to rise as purple tendrils burst forth, and there emerges Dark Gaia. Just like in the game, Chip utters the phrase, "It's Dark Gaia," but then notices that something is different about the creature. A giant metallic apparatus grafted onto the beast's head, emanating some strange electricity. Remember before when I said Eggman planned to take control of Dark Gaia? Well, that's exactly what he's done. Using the same technology as the tower he used to attract the Dark Gaia spawn, he has created a new model and mounted it onto Dark Gaia itself, placing the creature into a mind-controlled trance. I'm sure you're asking, wouldn't Dark Gaia just break out of the mind control? He's incredibly powerful. Well, Eggman's technology managed to hypnotize the Dark Gaia spawn, and Dark Gaia is merely an amalgamation of all of them, so I think it would work pretty much the same. And yes, Dark Gaia is incredibly strong, but I don't think that really applies to mental strength. In fact, I think Dark Gaia is pretty much just a mindless beast that would be very susceptible to something like mind control. Maybe if it was the fully formed Dark Gaia we saw in Unleashed's opening, that'd be a different story. But anyway, Dark Gaia is in a trance and completely obedient to Eggman, who is gloating and laughing about being a super genius and having the power of a planetary god at his fingertips. Using the controller, the Doctor sets loose Dark Gaia at Sonic. Just like in the game, Dark Gaia attacks with a whirlwind of tendrils. Sonic grabs Chip and jumps to another platform to safety. Now right here, Dark Gaia should take back that part of its energy that's still inside of Sonic. But because the creature is not in the right state of mind, it doesn't do this. And Eggman wouldn't think to command it to do this because he has no idea really what the Werehog is or if it has any relation to Dark Gaia, so he just doesn't think to do that. Dark Gaia attacks with its tendrils again. Sonic looks around and realizes there's nowhere else to jump to. That's when, just like in Unleashed, Chip surrounds him and Sonic in a green barrier and begins to hover upwards, calling forth the Gaia temples from all across the planet, constructing the Gaia Colossus. Eggman is just completely shocked by what he's seeing. What is that? Are those the Gaia temples? Sonic stands up and looks at his surroundings, now realizing the giant stone titan that he's standing on. Just then, the Egg Dragoon descends onto the Gaia Colossus itself and right over Sonic. Eggman uses his controller to command Dark Gaia to attack the Colossus using all of its strength. Sonic realizes that if he can beat Eggman, he might stop Dark Gaia. A battle commences between the Gaia Colossus and Dark Gaia, while Sonic fights the Egg Dragoon on the Gaia Colossus. The two fights play out pretty similarly to as they do in the game though. The Colossus gets up close and personal with Dark Gaia, and the two begin duking it out hand to hand, with the Colossus delivering earth-shattering punches to Dark Gaia's head. These attacks, while not destroying it, do crack and damage the mind control device on Dark Gaia's head. That's when the creature begins acting strangely, something which Chip catches onto. Something's wrong. Before Chip can even finish the thought, Dark Gaia with its gargantuan arms grabs a hold of the Gaia Colossus and begins pressing down into its shoulders, trying to crush it. Meanwhile, Sonic has just managed to defeat the Egg Dragoon. Chip calls out to Sonic and tells him to hurry because Dark Gaia is acting strangely and seems to be growing more powerful. Sonic grabs hold of the Eggmobile and demands to the Doctor that he call off the monster. Fearful, Eggman reluctantly complies, reaching for his controller, picking it up, pressing the button on it, but nothing happens. Uh-oh. Eggman begins panicking and pressing the button wildly. Sonic's shouting at him angrily after seeing Chip struggling even more. That's when Eggman claims that the controller just isn't working, that it somehow must have been damaged in the prior fight against Sonic. Chip calls out for help again, but Sonic can't do anything at this point except rely on Eggman to fix the controller. Yeah, Werehog Sonic's kinda useless in this situation. He lacks the speed that his normal form has to make it across the Gaia Colossus in time to actually help. And even then, this Dark Gaia hasn't sprouted the 3 green eyes across its head, so there's not even a weak point for Sonic to actually aim for. Pieces of the Gaia Colossus begin to break off around Sonic and Eggman. Sonic, I can't hold him! Chip is at his limit. Dark Gaia crushes into the Colossus's shoulders, grabs and pulls, ripping off the 4 Gaia temples that make up its arms. At the same time, Eggman has slipped away and floats up next to Dark Gaia in his Eggmobile. Eggman deduces that the damage done to the controller and the mind control unit on Dark Gaia's head are causing the electromagnetic frequencies to behave erratically, causing the creature to go wild and insane, and strangely, grow even more powerful, reaching near perfect Dark Gaia in terms of strength. This might have something to do with the fact that Eggman commanded Dark Gaia to attack the Colossus with its full strength earlier, effectively forcing the creature to. And now that the controller is broken, he can't make any new commands to the monster, meaning its power is rising without limit. Fearing he's losing control of the beast, Eggman begins shouting at it angrily, demanding that it obey him. Dark Gaia flails around and grows more insane by the second, letting off a huge roar. The sheer force of its voice somehow begins to make the continent of Eggman Land above rise up. And then, just like in the original game, a purple miasma spews from Dark Gaia's body and spreads across the earth. By feeding on the negativity and despair of the humans, Dark Gaia mutates and grows even more powerful, finally sprouting those 3 green eyes across its head. Yeah, sorry guys, no perfect Dark Gaia this time. Eggman still tries to regain control over the beast, but then, just like in the original game, a purple tendril swings round and punts Eggman's Eggmobile right out of the core. And that is the last we see of him for this story. Now powered up, Dark Gaia lunges in to attack the Colossus again, delivering slash after slash, ripping off huge chunks of its body. It decimates the Colossus, but Chip is more concerned with dodging the attacks in order to protect Sonic. During all of this, the Gaia Colossus suddenly ceases moving and just takes the punishment. Sonic is then surrounded in a green barrier and begins to fly upward. I'm sorry, Sonic. I don't think I can win against Dark Gaia as he is now. I couldn't save the world, but I can at least save you. Chip's power is just too weak at this point, and the Gaia Colossus, their best chance at winning, is now in such a sorry state. Sonic shouts to Chip, asking him what he's doing, but Chip tells Sonic to just run, hide, get away, do anything he can to survive. Have you noticed, by the way, that this scene almost mirrors the scene in Sonic Unleashed when Sonic told Chip to run? Sonic shouts to Chip, but he doesn't respond. Sonic then turns to Dark Gaia with his teeth gritted, and that Werehog side of him begins to flare up. What's gotten into you? You're just gonna stand by and let Dark Gaia destroy the Earth? He starts repeatedly punching the green barrier, trying to break out in a fury. Then, from within the Gaia temples, or what's left of them, the Chaos Emeralds begin to resonate. They shoot out and fly up into the air where Sonic is, surrounding him. Then, in a burst of light, the green barrier shatters open, and there hovers Super Werehog, who leans back and delivers a powerful howl, sending shockwaves all around the area. Sonic is furious and ready to beat down Dark Gaia. However, just like in Unleashed, Dark Gaia's sights are set firmly on the Gaia Colossus. He's not even paying Sonic any attention, which only makes him angry even more. Dark Gaia hurls a ball of molten rock towards the Colossus, but Super Werehog zips in the way and punches it back at the creature, who slashes it to pieces. He's now got Dark Gaia's attention. He's showing him that he is not about to let it hurt his friend. From here, Sonic engages Dark Gaia pretty much one-on-one, as the Gaia Colossus is still out of commission and floating motionless. The fight begins with Super Werehog zipping and flying around Dark Gaia and delivering a flurry of stretchy-armed JoJo punches, and even breaks out a few super variants of some of his combo skills in the game, like the Feral Wild Whirl, the Crescent Moon Strike, and my personal favorite, the Shohoken! Sonic puts up a great fight, more so than he did in the original Sonic Unleashed, but even with his super form and the added power of the Werehog, Dark Gaia is just too powerful for him to handle alone. With only a fraction of the time it took to charge in-game, Dark Gaia leans forward and fires off a huge energy blast point blank at Sonic. Sonic is sent hurling and flailing backwards, but manages to reorient himself and amazingly kind of resist the attack, throwing up his arms and forming a protective barrier. But it's not enough. Sonic is quickly losing rings and stamina, and Dark Gaia shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. Just then, as Sonic is almost completely overwhelmed, the armless Gaia Colossus comes flying out of nowhere and slams headfirst into Dark Gaia's body. The force of this impact completely destroys the top half of the Gaia Colossus, sending smoke and rubble all over the place, with the legs falling down into the magma. Chip's kamikaze attack has created an opening for Sonic. Dark Gaia has now fallen over, completely dazed and battered. Realizing this is his moment, the Werehog takes off into the air, flying high above until he's almost reached the underside of the floating continent above. He then turns and dive bombs straight back down the way he came. Dark Gaia is just about done shaking off that last attack. That's when he looks up and sees Sonic coming straight down towards him. Sonic reaches out his arm and makes a fist, and then with one perfect impact, Sonic flies right through the mind control device, right through the eye on Dark Gaia's forehead, and pierces its head completely like a bullet, splashing into the magma below and creating a huge geyser. Green blood oozes down Dark Gaia's face as it slowly sinks back into the magma. The beast is finally defeated and will return to its eons of slumber, until it inevitably wakes up again in another 100,000 years or something. Not long after, we see the remains of the Gaia Colossus's lower half floating in the magma, and a clawed hand reaches up, and with the last of his strength, Super Werehog pulls himself out of the magma and on top of it. With his rings depleted, the super form ends and the Chaos Emeralds disappear. Hurt and holding his shoulder, Sonic stands for a moment panting before finally saying, "Chip, we did it." He then collapses onto one knee before falling forward, losing consciousness completely. From there, the story comes to its close similarly to how it does in the original game. Only in this story, Sonic is flung out of the core by one swift kick from one of Gaia Colossus's legs. Sonic wakes up falling towards Apatos and crashes into the dirt head first. After getting his head free and regaining his bearings, he then realizes that he's no longer in his Werehog form, but he can somehow still feel Dark Gaia's energy inside of him. Somehow, it has not left him. That's when he turns and thinks he's caught sight of Chip, only for the mirage to fade away, and there he sees the bracelet that Chip has left behind for him. As he puts it on, he hears Chip's voice tell him that he'll always be with him as a part of the earth he treads, but also to never lose sight of who he is, and that he'll always be there close by to help him balance out light and dark. Sonic has a quiet moment bidding farewell to his friend as he watches the sun rise, and then running off alongside Tails' arrival. And that's where the story ends for now. So yeah, we covered a lot in this part, from a mind-controlled version of Dark Gaia to something as crazy as a Super Werehog. A little bit of trivia here, but the mind control idea was actually inspired by an old rumor from before Sonic Unleashed's release. I actually remember this rumor myself. It stated that in the game's finale, in the fight against Dark Gaia, Eggman would fly out and attach some kind of mind control device to Dark Gaia, and you would have to fight the two of them at the same time. This rumor was also mentioned, I believe, in an old Hellfire Comms playthrough from 2009.
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but one of the rumors for the final boss was Eggman puts like a brain control device on Dark Gaia, and so you have to fight him and Dark Gaia at the same time.
Of course, this rumor turned out to be false, but I decided to integrate it into this story, not only as a fun nod to that old rumor, but also as an integral piece as to why Sonic kept the Werehog form. Speaking of Werehog, Super Werehog. Yeah, why not? I'm sure some of you might be wondering, why would this happen? Does this need to happen? Could this even happen? Well, I'd say yes, because as we know in the game, Sonic managed to make the Werehog form all his own, so I don't really think that that would interfere with the super transformation in any way. And I don't think Dark Gaia energy has any kind of detrimental effects to Chaos energy. If anything, it's the other way round. Plus, Sonic's still pure of heart, so I think the transformation would happen anyway. What's interesting in this story is that the super transformation was fueled by rage. Sonic was furious at Dark Gaia for hurting Chip, but also kinda angry at Chip too for seeing him in such a pessimistic state. He just wasn't in a good place at the time. So the reasons for his anger are mainly fueled by his desire to defeat evil and protect his friend, albeit in a more feral and violent way. He might have been possibly using the positive and negative energies of the Chaos Emeralds mixed together. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in a later part. That's right, like I said before, this is the story ending for now. We'll be returning to this what if story in a part 2. As I mentioned in the beginning, with these what ifs, I want to see how they would change the foundations of the Sonic story, as well as the Sonic stories going forward. That means the later games. Now that Sonic is a Werehog, how would this affect his later adventures in other games? Well, that's what we'll be covering next time. Although the next game we'll get to might not be the one that everyone thinks. In fact, we might take a little detour to something else before we get to that one. But I'd like to get the input of you guys. Please, in the comments below, tell me what you think of this What If Sonic Kept the Werehog form story. What do you think would happen to him going forward? How do you think this would affect him mentally, knowing that he's going to keep the Werehog form now? As we know in the game, Sonic was kind of really bummed out about having the Werehog form, and he often stated that he wanted to find Eggman and make him fix this. That's kind of what I wanted to do with these What If videos. I want it to be a way to involve you guys, the viewer, to expand on the narrative. You guys will be directly involved in influencing the direction these What If stories might take. And this isn't the only What If I'm going to be doing. Oh no. I'm going to be coming back with all different kinds of What Ifs aside from the Werehog one. And on that note, please feel free to suggest any What If stories, and I'll see what I can do about covering some of them, especially if there's one I hear a lot, or one that's just hugely upvoted and everyone would like to see. And please, please, please let me know what you guys think of this new Sonic What If series. It's something I've put a lot of work and thought into, and I really hope it's paid off. I think it's a really fun little addition to the channel. So please, share your thoughts with me in the comments below. I have been the Sega Scourge, and I will see you guys in the next Sonic What If. Take care.